you so much for having me. Like I said, my airplane does board in about 30 minutes, but I do want to share just some highlights around my relationship with cooking with cannabis, how I got started cooking with cannabis, and then hopefully how other people can cook with cannabis for health and happiness. All
I
right.
love
So
it.
I
Do
will.
you want to do it? Like, do you want to talk? Do you want people to come talk with you? What you want?
If anyone wants to hop on stage or ask questions, I think that that will be best since I probably won't be able to go through chat for the Q&A. But if anyone
Okay.
wants to hop on, ask me a question. But I
Okay.
will actually just start going through the presentation and everything. If you do see me glancing off to the side, it's just because I do have some notes.
Okay.
All
I'll let
right.
people know in the chat to hit the share audio and video button
Yes.
to join you here on stage. I'm going to drop off, but you go ahead and do your thing, girl.
All righty. All right,
Thank you so
guys.
much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So as Wendy drops off, my name is Chef Jazz, everyone, or Jasmine. Typically, these courses and who I work with, they are people who want to know the fundamentals of cooking with cannabis. Either they have started out cooking with cannabis and they just want a little bit more fundamental knowledge. They have heard about it and they just don't know where to start, or you're just looking to acquire a new skill. So this is typically a lot of the people that come to me and that I do work with. Like I said, my name is Jazmine Moore, or Chef Jazz, better known in the industry. I am the owner of Green Panther Chef, and I am also the author of More Than a Cannabis Cookbook that is available for pre-sale. So I'm super excited about that. I started cooking with cannabis about in 2007. This was after 2006, the latter part. And the reason being is because I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Through the process, I had dropped down to around 84 pounds. I was put on 5, and I was told that this was supposed to be my life, right? So I got introduced to a doctor after I was really like rock bottom at this point. My mother actually introduced me and was like, "Hey, Jasmine, I really think that cannabis could be beneficial for you." And so myself coming from DC, I did not want to be a stoner as well, and I didn't want that association, right? But with myself having Crohn's disease and me just having the due diligence and just the type of person I am, I started researching about cannabis and did find out that the gut flora does produce gut flora. So this was a way that that's exactly what I needed in order for me actually to consume foods without the fear of having another flare up. So I started actually smoking like most people, but I was coming from bed rest, guys. I was already 84 pounds. And so I just didn't want to be in that sedative state anymore. So that's when I started edibles just a little bit, and that was through by way of raw, just juicing the actual plant. So I was not decarboxylating or anything when I first started cooking with cannabis. I was actually just using the entire plant and juicing it. And if you're not familiar, THCA or the acid compounds are a little bit more prevalent in undecarboxylated cannabis. So I was really leaning on the anti-inflammatory benefits of THCA when I was juicing. So I would do like an apple, beet, carrot, and a little nug of cannabis. And that's how I would start my day for at least a few months. That actually then in turn gave me the capability to introduce soups and stews and salads and then solid foods into my diet. So now, 13 years later, I'm no longer on any of those medications, and I am super excited about that. But that has really brought me to find out what cannabis can really help with and how cannabis and food really aligns. So this whole entire journey has really shown me that cannabis can really help with common ailments. So my book, I really talk about this in depth, but gastrointestinal issues being one, migraines, insomnia, anxiety, depression. And when we really start to marry food and cannabis together, that's when we can really start to reap the benefits of it, right? So that really comes down to what I like to say. I wish I had a screen here, but it's really down to knowing like the fundamentals, really. It's an overarching bucket is what I like to say, which is just record. Anything that you want to repeat, you're going to have to create what I say is a cannabis and food journal. This is the only way for you, really, in my eyes, to create repeatable results. And what that looks like is every time that you introduce a new strain or cultivar, every time you introduce a new food, eliminate a new food, you need to record this. I talk about this once again in depth inside of the book, More Than a Cannabis Cookbook, but it really is, that's the best way for you to, especially when you're just starting to cook with cannabis for health and happiness. You're just want to have to know what works for you, and I was in another session earlier. What might work for me may not work for you. Okay. And so then also on top of keeping your cannabis and food journal, you're also going to have to know your terpene type. This is extremely important because myself, like I said, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And so through my whole entire journey, I had to find out what strands, what cannabinoids really worked for me. And so beta carotene is something that is found in black pepper. It's found in nature, but it's found in cannabis as well. So I really like to look for strains that are higher and beta carotene because that works with the receptors inside of my gut and provides that homeostasis. I look for strains that are a little higher in myrcene and limonene, the same reasons because how they interact with my gut and manage pain as well. So it's knowing about your terpene type and what ailment are you trying to pinpoint as well. That is extremely important. Method of a delivery is always important. And the reason I say that is because that comes down to bioavailability. When are you going to feel the effect of your cannabis, right? So if you take a gummy or if you to make a brownie, let's say, right? If you take a brownie, that's going to hit totally different than if you do a salad dressing. The reason being is because of the bioavailability that is inside of your mouth and because of the mucose and all of that good type of stuff. It actually just breaks the blood and brain barrier quicker when you're using like extra virgin olive oil. It has less to metabolize essentially. All right. So you hear all of that noise in the background, but we are going to get through this, guys. So when we come down to dosage, we already have our cannabis and all that good type of stuff. But now you want to know um, how can I create those repeatable results? I was inside of a session, like I said a little bit earlier, and a woman said that she can go up to 10 milligrams per day, and that is marvelous. So, but to get started, so most people, I always recommend going low and slow. You probably heard that 1,000 times throughout this session, but that really looks like 2.5 milligrams and under every hour, or until you actually feel the effects and then building up from there. Myself being a Crohn survivor and dealing with pain management and everything, I can actually go up to 25 milligrams per day, but I actually space that out throughout the day. So it doesn't look like just one large dose either. And then also how to dose after you have all of your information around like decarboxylation. Once you know what type of strains or cultivars you really like, you probably want to know how to create repeatable results, right? And so yes, we do have the check out here, but I really like to lift up the veil so people can understand how to empower themselves so they can actually cook with cannabis at home without any vices or anything like that. So it really does come down to 5 questions. I will talk about that in a minute. But before, let's talk a little bit about the cannabinoid and terpene profiles and just the importance of those. I touched on decarboxylation a little bit earlier. That's just a fancy word for just activating your cannabis at a certain time at a certain temperature. When you are first starting out, I do recommend, once again, this is applicable when you're just starting with cannabis, it's just going low and slow. So around 220 degrees is where you want to start and decarboxylate for about 40 minutes. I do recommend another method inside of our cookbook, but you have to buy the cookbook to get that. And then also, and I play within a range. The reason why I do play within a range is because I like to reserve and isolate certain terpenes and cannabinoids and all of that good type of stuff so I can pinpoint specific ailments particularly. All right, so when we are cooking and we already know our temperatures and everything, we want to make sure that we know THC and cannabinoids, they burn off at certain temperatures, just like terpenes. I'm going to say THC because most people are familiar with that, but when you're cooking your edibles, all that good type of stuff, you want to make sure you do not exceed 342 degrees. This is extremely important. The reason being is because it's not going to be as effective. You might still have like psychoactive effects, but if you're really looking for repeatable results, health and and happiness, you really do want to make sure you regulate your temperatures. All right. So, like I said, we are going to talk about the big five. I go into detail about this in my book, but I'll give you a quick overview. And if anyone has any questions, if you want to hop on stage, because I do have to actually board my plane, just let me know. So, the big five and what those really look like are what's your percentage of cannabis? So, once we leave the dispensary and everything like that, excuse me, once we leave the dispensary and everything like that, we know that we have an eighth. So say that we do want to actually make edibles. So at this point, we have to decarboxylate. This is extremely important that you reweigh your cannabis after you decarboxylate because it's going to lose a little bit of water weight. This is the best way for us to actually create those repeatable results that I talk about quite often. You're also going to want to know what is the percentage of your cannabinoid. So I'm focusing on cannabinoid because we're starting to see CBD, CBG, THC, all of these cannabinoids that are just prevalent in the plant that people really want to focus on. So you have to know what is the cannabinoid content. So if you're focusing on THC, you want to focus on that. If it's CBD, okay, cool. But you just want to know what is that primary number in percentage form. And then also we go down to like what is the amount of non-carrier fat, and then your units of measurement as well. So, guys, this is basically going to wrap everything up. But I want to touch on two more things really quickly. Just dosing. Dosing is extremely important. Like I said, low and slow. So 2.5 and under, and then graduating up from there in about 1 gram or zero point 0.5 increments every hour, every 30 minutes, or at least until you feel something. I would not exceed, honestly, about 30 milligrams, and that's within like a 5 hour period once I'm new, when I'm new to cannabis. And so, as far as home extractions, I do work with a clientele that thinks sometimes that it's apprehension or it's a level of entry when it comes to cannabis or a barrier of entry. And that can be the case, but most of the time, people do have the essentials and the tools at home to start cooking with cannabis right now. So we do have more difficult extractions like BHO, butane honey oil, CO2. Ethanol extraction is actually a simple way that you can actually do it at home, and it's less volatile. I normally do something from just leave it inside of a mason jar out inside of the sun, or you can put it inside of the refrigerator. It depends on which method that you're going to use. And then keef as well. I absolutely love cooking. It's a great concentrate. You can do something at home, and it's a quick way that you can do a fast extraction too. So, guys, I hope this really helped you as far as the quick and fundamental ways that you can start cooking with cannabis at home. I'm so sorry it was super brief, but I do have a little bit more time to hang out. If anyone has any questions, feel free to hop on stage and I will definitely address those. But if not, we do have more information at greenpantherchef.com. And then also we have cooking videos on YouTube, all of that good type of stuff. And you can check out our book and all of that good information. So hopefully, if anyone has any questions, I am going to say going once, going twice, if not three times. Thank you so much for having me. Once again, my name is Chef Jazz, and happy cooking with cannabis, guys. Take care.